What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's been a minute. I think last time I was on was about last week or something like that. But we got a very, very special show today. For those of you who have watched me for a while, especially a couple months ago, I was talking a lot about liquidity providing. And if you took the course that me and Axis did, and if you were watching some of the streams I did with like RH Max and the streams on my channel, there was a website that I used a lot to help estimate how much fees you could be earning on a V3 V3 DEX, and that was Uniswap.fish. And today I have the founder, or not the founder, the new owner of Uniswap.fish, Noah Bragg, here today to chat about his plans for the site, learn a little bit about him as a crypto guy, but also an entrepreneur. He's been doing some cool stuff, both in the Web3 space and also as in the software for service space. So this is a conversation I've been looking forward to for a good while now, and I'm excited to learn from him. And I'm excited to see what he has in the pipeline for this website because I've gotten a lot of value from it, and I know a lot of people who follow me have too. But yeah, everybody in the chat's good to see you. Red Squirrel, Fast Abdul, Hex Enthusiast, Godfather, Norm. Guys, as you trickle in, don't be shy. Make comments, ask questions. But without further ado, I got the man himself, Noah. What's up, man?
Hey, thanks for having me, CryptoSloth. This should be fun.
Of course, man. Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on. Like I said in the intro, I've used the Uniswap.fish site a lot. It was really, really helpful. It wasn't like obviously super accurate, like in terms of live data, but it got you a good estimate if you wanted to compare, long position, wide versus short positions, and kind of like what happens if price moves. And I was really excited to see that, someone had acquired it and are looking to build on top of it, man.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully I can make some of those predictions and estimations even better with some tweaking and some things like that to it. But yeah, I'm excited to work on it, make it better, add a lot of stuff to it. It's kind of like my full focus right now. So yeah, it's pretty fun. And I've been in crypto the last like 3 years or so, and I've also done a lot of different entrepreneurial stuff. And so this is like, it was just an opportunity I was really excited about when I came across kind of this problem that I had with liquidity providing myself. And then I came across the website. And so I was like, I might as well reach out to the founder and see if there's something that could make sense for me to take it over or something like that. So that's, yeah, we can go more into that if you want, but that's kind of how that started.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And I've been liking the updates that you've been doing so far, for sure. I think, and there's a chat for those of you in the audience. There's a couple of us, and then he's posting all of his updates in there, and we're brainstorming a lot. So it's nice to see, it definitely shows that you're putting a lot of work into this right now. So that's awesome, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's fun building and fun making stuff. That's what I enjoy doing. That's what I want to spend my time doing. So.
Awesome, man. Well, first, before we get into the Uniswap.fish stuff, I'd like to personally just know a little bit about your background in crypto and kind of like how you got to the position where you're at now, where you've decided to acquire a site about LPing.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been into a lot of entrepreneurial stuff. I'm a computer science major back in college, and so I've worked at a couple of different tech companies since then. So definitely kind of have a background in the tech stuff. And so, crypto, I think for people that are really into technology, it is kind of funny because I feel like half of the people that are into technology like hate it, and then the other half like really get into it and like it and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it did take me a little bit to kind of really get into it. But it was, in 2020, there's kind of another bull run. And I did have some Bitcoin, so I made some money on it. And so that at that point, when you're like, okay, why did this make me money? That's when I kind of start questioning like what's going on here. And then I wanted to actually dive a lot deeper. And so that's what I did, and like actually kind of learn about the technology, how it works, how blockchains work, all this stuff. And so yeah, I kind of, the more I learned, the more I was like, okay, I think this, this makes a ton of sense. Like I could see this like really transforming the finance space and how we do things, and it seems like a lot better system. And so kind of just the more I was a part of it, the more I wanted to like build in it and be involved in it. And then kind of another big unlock for me was actually like NFTs, which, NFTs have kind of had like a hard run a little bit recently. But with NFTs, that was just very fascinating to me that like a new kind of application, a new kind of thing that you could do on the blockchain was bringing in just whole new crowds of people, like people that weren't interested in crypto at all, you know, like artists, musicians, all those kind of people were like
Yep.
really into NFTs and people that liked collecting things. And so that made me think like, okay, there's, you know, there's some other use cases that could be unlocked here. And at that point is when I really went deep on the technology, like understanding smart contracts, Solidity, like actually doing development stuff. Like I just wanted to know how it worked because it was so fascinating with some of this NFT stuff. You know, I dabbled in buying some different NFTs and had some fun with that. So yeah, basically over the last like year or two, I've just gotten deeper and deeper into it, and I don't think I'll come out of the hole. Especially now that I've like invested myself into it with this website and stuff. Like I'm going deep. So yeah, that's kind of how I really got into crypto. And then kind of on the back of the NFT stuff, I did do an NFT project with a buddy of mine from college. And it was called City Clash. It's at cityclash.io. And we were trying to do like a very unique NFT project where it's like a simple game with some different game mechanics of like trading the NFTs on top of the game. And so it was like something we'd never seen done before in NFTs. And so we just kind of wanted to do something unique. We ended up launching it. I think it was like on a Monday that they called like Bloody Monday or something. Like it was like one of the worst like days in crypto of 2022. And so it wasn't a great day to launch, but we still were able to mint out some, and we just slowly like minted out more cities. The cities are the NFTs in City Clash as we went. And so, you know, it's been over a year, maybe a year and 3 months since we launched that project, and we still have a very small community that's like into it, and people actually still like make money from it, which is cool. Every week we like reward somebody in City Clash, so that's kind of a fun thing. So yeah, that's still like going, and like, you know, it's not taking a ton of my time, but it's still something we kind of manage and like help try to keep that community going. So that was, you know, my first real like crypto project that I built, and even like building the smart contracts and things like that. But yeah, I guess kind of going to how I ended up acquiring Uniswap.fish. So my last business was called Potion. It was like this website builder built on top of Notion, and you know, it was very much in the Web 2 kind of world. And I started that over like 2.5 years ago, and it was something I was trying to do, like building solo. There's this whole like community online, like indie hackers and bootstrappers, where like the whole goal is to, instead of make like a huge startup, like a big unicorn startup, it's like, okay, how can I make a business that at least works for myself and is like a profitable small scale online business? A lot of these businesses are like SaaS kind of businesses, like software as a service and things like that. So that was kind of what I did with Potion, and it was a lot of fun. And I ended up selling that around 4 or 5 months ago. And I even with that whole journey of Potion, I was really open and public about everything there. Like I would share all the behind the scenes on Twitter and on YouTube and stuff. And so I sold that. I guess I'll share just because I've shared it before, but I sold that for $300K. And so that was a really like, I was really happy with that kind of exit. You know, because that was just me, you know, all by myself and in the last 2.5 years. And so, yeah, I was kind of like, okay, what do I want to do next? Like, I know I want to start another business. I really wanted to do a business in crypto because, you know, I love crypto. I spend a lot of time following it. And so I wanted to find a business where I could help in the industry. But then the other part of it is finding a business opportunity that's also bootstrappable. That's like something, you know, that I'm into, like indie hacking kind of things. I don't want to have to go raise a ton of venture capital to be able to build, you know, a business. And so I found, as I looked through different ideas and stuff in crypto, like I found it's kind of hard to do it without raising some money, or, you know, the majority of crypto projects, like a lot of them aren't profitable. Or, you know, so it's like they're living off of venture capital, or they have like a token and they're you know, they make money kind of through their token and speculation on their token. But there's not really like a bootstrapper indie hacker kind of path that's often taken that makes a ton of sense. And so, yeah, I went through probably like 4 or 5 different crypto ideas in the last 6 months, before I kind of landed on this liquidity pool stuff, and ultimately like found Uniswap.fish and bought the website. So yeah, that's a little. I know I went over a lot, so maybe you can
No,
stop me there and catch up on anything I kind of glanced over.
no, that's great. I appreciate that. So, and that it sounds like it's a pretty common journey into like the crypto space, where it's like you hear about it, you buy some because like your friends have some, you watch it go up in price, you're like, oh wait, what's going on here? Like this thing has gone up in
Yeah,
price more than like I could have expected it to. And then there's kind of a couple, I guess, attrition points you could say, where like a lot of people in the software development space, they're like, no, this whole thing is a scam. And then there's some people who like go really deep into it. And it seems like you've definitely taken one of the two paths, having
yeah,
acquired a website about liquidity providing. The
yeah.
first,
Well, and
kind
to say something on that, because I think that is an interesting point, is like I think when you do look at the crux of what crypto is, like
yeah,
why crypto is valuable right now, kind of the main thing is speculation right now. Like
mhm,
it's markets, it's trading, it's trading different tokens and NFTs and all that kind of stuff. And so I think there's a lot of people in tech that they look at that and they're like, well, I don't want to, like that's just like a casino. Like I don't want to be a part
mhm,
of that. Like there's no value there. But I think if you look deeper, there is a lot going on that I think it really is valuable and can be very valuable to our financial systems.
mhm,
But it's just like we only have parts of it, and it's like you kind of have to have, I think, a little bit of an optimistic viewpoint on crypto to see like, okay, we're building towards something that's going to be super valuable. And yeah, maybe a lot of it is some speculation stuff going on right now, and some of that can bother people. But I think it's all
mhm.
kind of like stepping stones towards something that could be very, very valuable in kind of in our world. And so I think that's why some people get like a bad taste in their mouth because they just don't like the speculation of it.
Yeah. And you bring up a great point, because a lot of what's happening in crypto right now is recreating a lot of the financial products and systems that we have in the TradFi world, but just doing it on the blockchain. And the part that really attracts me to it is the permissionlessness of it. And to bring it to liquidity providing, the liquidity that's provided in from most like stocks and financial products are held by their centralized entity, the brokerage companies, and there's even like companies who own the stuff that the brokerage companies go through to have the liquidity in the first place. And they earn a lot of money through owning the assets by the fees that people pay when they buy and sell on like Charles Schwab or Vanguard, right? And that's something that normal retail investors or even accredited investors, they don't have access to that kind of to the volume of the market. Basically, they don't have access to the volume of the market through the fees that are paid. But with liquidity providing, because they're on dexes and all of that liquidity is just exists on a smart contract that anybody can interact with, all of a sudden, everyday people or even, large investors have the ability to be market makers and unlock fees and passive income proportional to the volume of whatever coins that are being traded.
Yeah. No, yeah, it is a really cool thing, and it's something where yeah, anyone can get involved and like start kind of investing in it and learn kind of how it works. And so I do really like how it's kind of an opportunity for anyone. The other thing, and this is kind of how I landed kind of in liquidity pool providing itself, is when I look at like crypto in the whole landscape, like one of the main kind of things I think has worked and like is kind
Mhm.
of I'm sure there's going to be a ton of innovation still on top of liquidity pool providing, but I think within crypto, it's one of the main things that's like has worked where it's like there's actually real money being made and real yields. That's not like
Mhm.
it's not like a fake yield of like, just like someone inflating a token away or something like that. It's like there's actually real value that's crossing hands because all these people want to swap in between tokens and you're actually providing a real service. And so there's actually, real money being made that
Mhm.
liquidity pool providers can make. And so that's kind of where it kind of brought me to it. Because as a bootstrapper, you have to find places where you can actually make real revenue because you're
Mhm.
not going to have venture capitalists or anyone like that that's paying you. So yeah, that's kind of why I landed in the space. And so I think it's a really cool thing with liquidity pool providing, and it's really fun to learn about it and kind of just even go deeper on it as well.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely, And that's another thing that turns a lot of people off when I talk to people IRL about crypto, or like I see like criticisms on Twitter or videos or whatnot. It's usually a question of like, well, nothing's actually being created. There's no actual value being added. It's just a function of supply and demand, and the price just inflates. And if you don't have people buying, then the price goes down, et cetera, et cetera. But liquidity providing it kind of presupposes like that there's a market in the first place, or for it to happen, there has to be a market with people trading for volume to exist for that actual yield to be generated. But it is more in line with a TradFi paradigm of value, which I think it's a good avenue to bring people in from. It's like, hey, look, there's volume here. There's these fees that are being generated from that volume, and you can earn an income from it. Do you think like the people in the software engineering community, do you think that avenue getting into crypto would be a more efficient one?
Yeah, I could see that. I think, and that's where, liquidity providing itself is like a couple steps down from crypto, where it's like, I would imagine most people that are like exploring crypto, like they don't even know this is a thing, or understand how this works. And so that's probably why people don't, see some of the value in it, or probably don't know about it. But I think why crypto is also really something that I think is exciting is like I've gotten into like finance stuff the last, I don't know, 5 years, just caring more about how I do my own finances and stuff. And so I did like the kind of the finance world, personal finance world. And then obviously I'm into technology because I'm a software developer. And so crypto is kind of like a mix of both of those things, which is like really awesome. And it's not really something you can get anywhere else, because if you were just gonna like go do a job in normal TradFi and stuff, there's not really that much innovation and technology kind of innovation going on there. It's just kind of like the old system, how it works. And so yeah, that's crypto is a really awesome place of all those things kind of coming together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess on that topic, tell us a little bit about what your plans are for Uniswap.fish now. Like, what's your vision? Kind of, well, what first attracted you to the site? Like, why that site over maybe some other, DeFi dashboards around liquidity providing? And then what's your vision going into the future?
Yeah, so kind of the main problem that I experienced myself as a liquidity provider is like how to know like if it was going well, like kind of having like a good lens on my profit and loss of my different positions that I had, and just like being able to easily track those things. And there are some tools there's some options out there for things like that. But that was like the problem that I was like getting interested in solving, is like helping liquidity pool providers basically make decisions on their positions that they have to help them, make more money, and that just like kind of help give them be valuable that way. And so I ran across Uniswap.fish just in liquidity pool providing. And it seemed like just a great place to, well, one, it is solving a problem with just like being able to know, how much potential fees you could make on on pairs, and kind of like exploring different options of pools you could jump into. And then, the other reason like looking at it is like, okay, this could be a good opportunity, is it has like some good search volume. So like on Google search, like it's like ranked number one for like calculators in like liquidity pool providing and stuff like that. And then as I kind of went deeper into it, just seeing that like it was built, like the founder, he was an indie hacker. He was kind of a bootstrapper similar to me. So, it was started by a solo guy, which just kind of, to me, that shows like there's, just I have some connections with those kind of founders. And it'd be just someone that I could work with well, that it could make sense to kind of pass off to me that way. And so, yeah, just a couple of things kind of came together where I saw Uniswap.fish as kind of like a really good opportunity for a website that could kind of be in some ways like a top of funnel. Like it's a free website. Everything about it that you use it is free, and I'm not gonna like change that. But it's a really good base, I think, to like build a business around, kind of like these free valuable tools. And so that's where it kind of like caught my eyes. Like it could be a good opportunity. And kind of how we decided on like how valuable it was kind of just seeing like how much money could you make from putting ads on the website? And I haven't done a ton of that in the past, but kind of what I did to understand how that world works is I went out and just like basically approached like 10, 15 different crypto companies and was like, hey, say I owned this website called Uniswap.fish. How much would you be willing to like put an ad on it for a month? And so I just got a lot of different answers that way. And that's how I kind of got to see like how valuable the website is. It gets just maybe some interesting metrics that help understand it. It gets like 30K unique users a month. And so those are pretty much all liquidity providers that are visiting the website. And so, yeah, it's like, it's got a nice place already. And so for me as an entrepreneur, just kind of seeing that as like, okay, that's like a really good way to like start a business, is like start with something instead of having to start completely from zero. And obviously there's a lot to do. There's a lot to figure out of like how to make it a good business. But to me, it was just like, it's the journey is kind of the fun part, is like, how can I make a viable tool for people, and kind of the fun of just like building things. And so it just kind of hit all the spots for me, especially with, I've been just getting really into liquidity providing in the last 4 months or so. And so that's kind of where I was like, all right, I think this is going to be fun to do. So I just kind of went for it. Yeah, that's kind of how I came to acquire it.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. It's, and with those sites, typically the model, I think, is like a subscription based service where you give a lot of the free stuff out, and then you have a lot of the analytics in the background behind a subscription. So that's cool to see that you're going more from a ad revenue standpoint versus like a subscription model. What kind of new features are you looking to add outside of the dynamic V3 modeling?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of it has been just kind of figuring out, it's kind of been learning along the way. Like, kind of my strategy has been to kind of just make the calculator better itself, kind of expand the calculator. So I'm working on adding more dexes and things like that, so that people that want to do liquidity providing on different dexes other than Uniswap can also use the calculator, and it could be valuable for them as well. So yeah, kind of like working on the free tools that it offers, and at the same time kind of like figuring out how like the ad sponsorship kind of stuff works. But I think longer term, like having some kind of like pro tool on top of it is kind of the plan. And I still don't really know what that exactly is going to look like. But kind of how I'm kind of picturing it now is that Uniswap.fish, which actually I'm also kind of in the middle of rebranding the name because it's all, just
I was going to ask, what are the names you're thinking of right now?
Well, I
know you like
kind of
the
already
fish.
land on something.
Yeah.
I mean, I might as well, you guys can hear it here first. You'll be the first to know, but I'm calling it PulseChain. Yeah.
Nice.
So, kind of sticking with the fish because I like the fish, and it kind of, it makes sense being like a liquidity pool provider, like, and so, yeah, pool fish, kind of like you're a fish in the pool of liquidity pools, and I don't know, it all kind of goes together. So that's kind of where I landed on that name. It's
Nice.
kind of fun.
It'll
yeah,
be,
I forget where I was going with that.
Pool.fish, or?
Well, it will be poolfish.xyz will be the new domain.
Okay, change it. Gotcha. Nice. That's exciting, man.
Yeah.
You're talking about kind of, well, one thing you're talking about is adding new dexes, and so to kind of get more visibility. Give your users more visibility across these dexes, because obviously not all the volume is on Uniswap Ethereum. What kind of things are you looking for? Like, what parameters are you using to kind of decide which dexes to add, and then like how are you prioritizing which ones to add first?
So I'm really kind of adding them based on like their TVL. So like, which ones are the biggest that have the most volume kind of coming through. And also like there's still like a lot of dexes out there that don't support V3 yet. And, Uniswap.fish is really built all around V3 because that's where, there's a little bit more complexities as a liquidity provider, and you have to do this, fee calculations and stuff like that. So yeah, that actually kind of limits down the number of dexes that I could even do, unless, if I get to a point where I expand beyond V3. But yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking at it, with just mostly volume and TVL and stuff like that.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's why I assumed too. But I was wondering if there's any other metrics that you had kind of in the background that you were looking at. And you bring up an interesting topic, because I brought this up in the chat in the background too, where it's like, what metrics would actually be useful in a V2 system, like to add onto the site, or like a balancer for example. Because I know on PulseChain, which is like the L1 that I'm mostly focused on creating content around, we don't have a V3 DEX quite yet. I think in the background, I've heard some rumblings. We have a couple DEXs coming online and are about to come online that will probably, at least one of them will probably have a V3 system on there. So that's an easy one if you were to decided you wanted to add to it. But that's something that I've been thinking about since our conversation. Like what metrics or what kind of data would be useful to visualize on PulseFish if it's not V3, because obviously these are less dynamic systems that don't have as many moving variables. So it's kind of like, just like flat. The charts just look like flat lines, or like if you're just doing like a TVL chart. It's the data that we already have on the DEXs. Have you given any extra thought to that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there would be a ton of extra data like that would be that much more valuable to have, other than just like the the APYs that you could get on the different pools and kind of like the volume there. So yeah, there might not be like a ton, like there definitely doesn't need to be, I don't think, some kind of like calculator for like the V2 kind of stuff. But I guess that kind of goes into where I'm also thinking of taking Uniswap.fish, now PulseFish, is just more and more of like a place for discovery, like discovering basically opportunity in liquidity pools. And I think there's a couple ways to do that are pretty interesting. Like one obviously is like, looking at pools and seeing, how much APY could you potentially get at these different pools. And then I think another thing that could be really interesting that I'm kind of exploring is kind of like tracking other people's positions, like seeing what are other liquidity pool providers doing. And how can you like learn from them? Like what decisions are they making? What's working well for these other liquidity pool providers? And then like I could even see building out some tools like email alerts or Telegram alerts, where it's like alerting you when different wallets are making moves that you might be interested in, or specific wallets that you're trying to follow to like learn from or make moves around as well. There's different systems like that and other tools for like alerting you when wallets are doing things. But I think something that's much more specific to liquidity pool providing, I think could be kind of an interesting tool and really helpful to liquidity pool providers. But yeah, kind of being able to see different people's positions and seeing what's working for them, what's not, and kind of like discovering opportunities that way, I think could make a lot of sense. And so I think like V2 could fit into some of those kind of things pretty well, even though if it's not necessarily going to need like the calculator part of the website. But yeah, those are some ideas that I'm kind of playing around with and like kind of going towards.
I like that, and I think some kind of chain analysis services on there would be really, really helpful. Do you have any chain analysis background at all? Have you done much of that?
Not like a ton, no. That would definitely be kind of new for me, I guess. Other than just like some basic like going through Etherscan and stuff like that.
Looking at transactions,
I haven't done. Yeah,
but you're not using like Nansen or anything like that to anything super complicated.
No, I haven't really, used Nansen much. But like some of those things, like that's also why I like entrepreneurship and stuff. It's just like there's a lot to learn and a lot to figure out, and kind of that challenge and learning is, I think, what makes it a lot of fun. So like if I do go in that path where I need to do some of that stuff, I'd be up to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, speaking of on-chain analysis, we have one of our main guys, Silver the Antidote, popping in. What's up, Silver? Good to see you. He's a big on-chain guy in our community. Hey, what's up, Axis? Good to see you, bud. But yeah, I think pairing on-chain tools with LP stuff would be really helpful, especially like tracking like how people have done given like different historical contexts, and then you can kind of juxtapose that on where it is now. And if you just like have any kind of like TA background or even like understanding of like Markov cycle theory, a lot of analysis can be done. Just kind of unifying those tools on a single place. I think that's a great place to go.
Yeah, for
Another
sure.
place I think that your website, at least what I've found really useful about what Uniswap.fish has currently, is as an educational tool. I mean, like on that dashboard for what it has, you have to know a lot to be able to use that, right? You have to be able to read
That's true.
a V3 histogram. You kind of have to know like what those two bars mean, or like you even have to know like for people like we take for granted, but like which bar means the price. And then you kind of have to know like why things are changing as you're moving them. But if you're, and then explaining all of that just with like, a PowerPoint presentation and like verbally is really difficult. And even on like the Uniswap website, if you're setting a position, you have a lot of those, but you don't have the dynamic price. So it's like, it's hard to explain impermanent loss and exactly grounding that in an actual example. It's really hard to explain verbally or even with slides. But the Uniswap.fish interface is actually really great, a really great educational tool. Even if you're not using it as to set a position yourself, if you're somebody giving a presentation on liquidity providing, it's like it really helps at the end of the presentation when you talk about everything that you talked about, centralize it into one interface that shows you everything that you need to know.
Yep. No, yeah, that is a good point, because that kind of brings into kind of the other directions I'm thinking. And one of the problems is I'm right now, at least I'm only one person, so I can only do so much. But I would like to do some of the teaching kind of stuff as well. And so one of my first steps in that is like a newsletter. And so I'm starting a weekly newsletter that's, just for liquidity pool providers. And kind of the idea is to have like different segments in the newsletter where parts of it is maybe teaching some things, or maybe it's like looking at different tools and things that can help liquidity pool providers, or just like any little news things that have gone on in the space that's specific kind of to liquidity pool providers. So that's kind of one option. What I'd really like to do at some point, and this is again like I only have so much time, but I'd like to get to the point where like I could do like a YouTube channel all around liquidity pool providing. Like I've done some YouTube stuff in the past, and I really enjoy creating content like that. And so I think liquidity pool providing is it's very much a niche within crypto, and it's not served all that well. Like obviously there's a lot of content creators around crypto as a whole, but there's not a ton of people that are very much in the weeds of liquidity pool providing and helping people do that better and teach around it. So I think that would be a lot of fun to do at some point as well. And so all this, hopefully I get to all these things, but I'll probably, I'll have to kind of hit some milestones to then be able to kind of add more and do more, and probably need to like hire some people at some point to be able to pull it off. But yeah, that would be kind of the dream, is to do some of the teaching stuff as well and do some of those things. And yeah, as far as like the calculator, it's definitely helpful. Kind of visualizing like how this stuff works in pools and impermanent loss. Like impermanent loss, like you said, like it is really hard, I think, to understand how it works. And so you do need like some kind of visual tools. And I think even the one that's on Uniswap.fish right now, like could use a little bit of work to kind of make it even better with that. So hopefully I could get to something like that as well. But yeah, it's definitely helpful kind of being able to see some charts and being able to kind of easily move numbers around to kind of see, okay, what happens if your position changes and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's a cool point. That's a good point you brought up.
Well, here's actually another idea, because you said earlier that a lot of NFTs really caught your attention and excitement. It sounded like before. There's some other NFT projects I know that use the NFTs as like the key to unlock the educational content in a lot of ways. And then like because these are like receipts on the blockchain, you can kind of have it so it's like you're earning like badges along the way. So it's like on the site you have all the videos and everything, and then it's like if you show that your wallet has completed the task of the specific lesson, that NFT gets greenlit to go on to the next one. It could be like a cool collector item for like the Uniswap.fish kind of community. That could be a fun way, just a fun way to integrate more Web3 stuff into it. But it's probably a lot of extra work.
Sure. No, yeah, that's a good idea though. I like it.
Awesome, man. Let's see. There's another question I had for you about all of that. We were talking about the new stuff that you're adding to it. Well, what are you working on right now with it? I know you just dropped a new newsletter. The first one for it. What was that about? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I mean, it was kind of just a very like early stage. Like I was kind of like almost explaining kind of some of my vision with the newsletter, like things I'd like to do, and hopefully people would see in the newsletter. So some of it was just kind of talking about the potential future of the newsletter.
Hmm.
I talked about aerodrome decks, which
Hmm.
just came out in the last week and has like kind of been blowing up on base. They got to like 180 million TVL in three days, which is like crazy. So that was like one of the new dexes that kind of popped up, and I know lots of people were kind of trying to jump on that opportunity to do some liquidity providing and kind of arbitrage that a little bit there. So yeah, I
Hmm.
talked about that a little bit. Um, Shared like a tweet that someone in like the LPing space. So like those are kind of what I could envision doing in the new newsletter more is like having little like sections that are helpfully like valuable little bits of information for LPers.
Hmm.
And then something I'd like to do as well with the newsletter that I think could be fun is I guess two things is one is like tracking like different whales and just like what did this whale do and kind of building a little bit of a story around some like whale LPers. And then the other thing I think would be really fun is like basically doing experiments where it's like, hey, I'm gonna take I don't know $5,000 or $10,000, and you guys can basically watch me, do some LPing, and I'll kind of like share some lessons I learned from doing it, or
Hmm.
mistakes I made, things like that. And I think that could be a good way to like teach a little bit through the newsletter, and in the newsletter, kind of just like check up on like how's it going, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so yeah, those are some of the
it's
ideas
definitely
with
within your
that.
ethos of like publicly building too. Like that seems very in line with like kind of how you like to work and like produce your products.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like the process of sharing things in public, and it gives accountability too, which I really like. It's kind of
Mhm.
like a good motivator, and so that's why I've done that a lot in the past.
Mhm.
So
Awesome, man. Okay, I like that. I'm excited to see some of those segments on your newsletter. So tell me a
yeah,
little bit about like your thesis on LPing. Like, what do you look for in a pool, and then like how do you see it fitting into like your crypto portfolio as a whole? Maybe it's like for passive income or get exposure to multiple assets.
yeah. I mean, so I'm very much still like in the phase of like figuring out kind of how I'm like kind of my long-term strategy with it and just like figuring out what works in LPing. Right now what I've been doing is I've been tracking multiple different LPers and just kind of like learning from
Mhm.
following other people, and just kind of tracking their wallets, seeing what they're doing, seeing what ranges they're going in, when they're getting out. Like that's been like super
Mhm.
valuable and helpful to me doing that. As far as like my whole portfolio goes, when I sold Potion, because I'm really into crypto and very bullish on it, a lot of that money was basically funneled into crypto, which is fun and exciting because I feel like we're in a decent time. Like not financial advice, but I think in the next couple of years, like crypto is going to do decently well, and so I mostly like Ethereum is like my main asset that I'm holding mostly. And so like right
Mhm.
now I'm just like LPing with kind of playing around with like $5,000 and just trying to learn
Mhm.
basically. But especially if like it goes really well with LPing, I could see kind of allocating more of my stack kind of to LPing. Because
Mhm.
if you do it right, you can make some pretty good APYs, like 100% or something. Even more than that. I've gotten on a couple of my positions. So I think I'll really have to get like a feel for it over time of like how risky are some of these positions? How much money do I want to put into them? Um,
Mhm.
I guess the other thing I've done with LPing as well that is seems like a pretty good strategy is kind of using it as just a way to kind of get into a token. Like if I want to get Ethereum
Mhm.
or some other token that I do actually want to hold like long term, using like the USDC pair with that to kind of over time get into that token as it kind of is going down, like you can actually just get a pretty good price for that and make fees along the way. So like there's like simple like little things like that with LPing that I think are pretty valuable as well. And so kind of playing around with some of those. Yeah, so that's, I don't know if I answered your question very well. That's
No,
kind
that
of
was
how
great.
I'm thinking about it right now. And a lot of it is learning as I go right now with the LPing stuff. So
Yeah, no, I like that a lot, and I share a lot of those same sentiments. I think buying and selling, especially with V3, is a really powerful feature, to have, and it's the thing that I get the most interest around, because it's like you can pretty much set the price you want to buy or sell at, and then let the market, come to you wherever you want the price range at, and then instead of like a limit order where it just executes the order at that price, you're earning fees along the way, which is really powerful in like upwards price trend, when the price is going upwards in a pretty strong way, because not only are you earning fees to say you're doing an ETH USDC pair, you're earning fees also in ETH. So it's like those fees that you're earning are increasing as well. And if your bag is increased in dollar value, then like those fees also represent that increase in valuation as well. And that's kind of like my long-term thesis or goal on like liquidity providing, is to like accumulate these large positions and things that I feel are going to gain a decent network effect in the future. And that's going to give me a lot of power from a liquidity provider perspective to unlock passive income, by letting other people letting the market trade with my coins. Because eventually, if you play things right and you do well and you choose something that has a good network effect, it's really difficult to exit a position, because you're going to really hurt the price chart, of whatever you're selling. And that could immediately hurt the amount of extractable liquidity that you have. But also you're in this kind of catch-22 where it's like you're selling the thing that's made you money, and you're like devaluing the thing that has, brought you up in a lot of ways. And so a way that you provide a service to the community while also unlocking really good income along the way is through liquidity providing and providing those coins to the market. So that's kind of like where my head's at a lot of the ways. It's like getting in early to something that's going to get a network effect, and then strategically using those coins to unlock the volume that comes from that increased network effect.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's pretty cool. And it sounds like, like if you were a whale, that like LPing would probably make a lot of sense, because like you kind of even more so need to do that service like you're talking about, instead of just like jumping in and out of a token and kind of messing with it.
Yeah. Well, like in my opinion, the real winners, this may be obvious, but the real winners in crypto are the people who held things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Well, Bitcoin and Ethereum very early, and didn't sell or successfully traded it and still have their coins now. And a lot of those people are providing their providing their coins as liquidity to the centralized exchanges. But that's not really something that the centralized exchange volume has the same problem that like TradFi has, where it's like only a certain number of people can get into it, because there's a centralized entity gatekeeping who can provide their coins and who can't. And that's not necessarily a good or bad thing, not putting a value judgment on it, but it's like the reality. If the liquidity is owned by a centralized exchange, then they're the ones who decide who gets to put their liquidity in and who doesn't, just by definition. But with decentralized exchanges, any new products or ecosystems that become larger in the future, well, anybody can provide that liquidity and garner and provide that service along the way. Where was I going with that? The real winners are the Bitcoin and Ethereum guys, because they have bags that are so big that they can't sell, but they can use those coins to unlock passive income by providing it with liquidity. And I think a lot of those players are doing that, if my information is correct.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's pretty interesting. I have some questions for you if you think everyone listening would because they're kind of about what you've done a little bit. Because I don't. So it seems like you're into PulseChain. It seems like you're into Hex a little bit. So those are kind of in the crypto world. Those are parts of the crypto world I don't really know much about. I haven't really gone down any of those rabbit holes. So yeah, like how did you get into those kind of ecosystems? What kind of brought you there? And it seems like you got a cool community here of people watching and listen that are also kind of a part of that. So just curious, like how that came to be.
Yeah, man, great question. So I got into crypto pretty similar to the timeline you did, but closer to 2021. And now it kind of sampled a whole bunch of cryptos. Obviously, you had the Ethereum, Uniswap. I was even into things like Celsius and Luna for a bit too. But I was also into Hex, and kind of through digging into all of the different protocols and the value propositions and etc. Hex is the one that really caught my attention as something that I thought could garner that network effect that I was just talking about. So a lot of the narrative around why price has done what it does in crypto is has been centered around like the decentralized nature of the network. And people claim that the value of the tokens that are being produced by the miners for Bitcoin and the validators for Ethereum, the value comes from their securing the network. So like Bitcoin miners get paid Bitcoin because they're running the transactions to allow the network to run in the first place. And that's like the general value proposition of Bitcoin. And then people have said that the decentralized nature of it is the reason why the price is going up. And that's true to a degree. But one element of the reason why we've seen price of Bitcoin go up so high as it has, is more to do with supply, demand, and network effects. So we've had a lot of people come in, and then the supply and demand of that has facilitated the price to go up in unprecedented amounts. And that's something that wasn't talked about, or at least, it wasn't talked about too often. And then Hex was the first thing that I saw that tried to gamify that directly in its inflation model, where it incentivized the behaviors that led to price appreciation in the first place. So it's like the staking of Hex is rewarded disproportionately to people who stake longer and stake more. Less supply generally means price go up. And then the service that they're providing is not is giving up their ability to sell in the first place. And then the people who are holding liquid, their value, they're conferring value to the stakers by not getting some of the inflation. So it's this really interesting dynamic between the people who are locking up their coins and earning the inflation, and then the people who are holding their coins and not earning inflation. Like that dynamic really interested me, was really interesting to me. And then you throw on top of that the trustlessness of it, the permissionlessness of it. A lot of the central ethos that exists within crypto was also present within the Hex contract. So those things led me to believe that this has the potential to get a large network effect, and was like justifiable to speculate on it, is essentially how I got into that ecosystem. And the PulseChain is kind of a derivation off that. And the way I got my community was through a token that's a derivative on top of Hex called Hedron. And so that has its distribution model based on the unit of account of the Hex inflation. And that had similar scarcity mechanisms and supply and demand mechanisms as Hex, or at least it built on top of it. And to me, the way that Hedron and the other token in that system, Icosa, built on top of Hex really exemplified how the inflation model of Hex is a really solid base for a financial product that you can build really cool stuff off of. So yeah, that's kind of I was a little all over the place there, but that's kind of how I found my way into and then the community is pretty great too. And that's kind of how I got my audience a bit as well.
No, that makes sense. Thanks for kind of explaining that more. So the only thing I have heard about Hex, which I'm sure there's some controversy around it or whatever, is like, I've seen, like, I think Uniswap, I think like they didn't like, you can still trade it. I think it's just not on their web apps and stuff. And then like, I don't know, I've just heard people say it's scammy or I don't know, whatever. So like, why is that all there? Like, I don't really even know like the history of it. Like, why is there like some of that arguments and stuff around it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So there's a lot of reasons why, and Hex is kind of described as kind of like the weird stepchild of crypto. Like it's kind of like in the crypto space, but nobody in mainstream crypto really has adopted it or has accepted it for quite a few reasons. But the Uniswap thing, it's actually relisted now. I think it's back up. But that has, I think, partly to do with like the SEC case that is against Richard right now. So they're claiming that like the PulseChain launch and everything was a security, and so they're trying to go through litigation that way. And I think Uniswap also delisted a couple other things that had an open SEC cases as well. But a lot of the tension with the greater crypto community and the Hex community has to do with the not accepting the value proposition of Hex. So people, one of the main criticisms is that it's just a token, it's just an ERC token that inflates and does nothing else and doesn't innovate and doesn't add any kind of value. And that's something I fundamentally disagree with. I think the mechanisms laid out in the contract do allow for value creation through that equilibrium between stakers and non-stakers. But I see it very similar as to like TradFi people or no coiners, their reservations about Bitcoin as a whole, I find very similar to the ones that people have within crypto to Hex. And so it's like they just don't believe that the value proposition is actually valuable. And so because of that, they call it a scam. And Dipcatcher brings up a good point. So the origination of Hex as a scam started by Bitcoin Cash fan posting fake posts slamming Richard all over Reddit. This is what appeared to, yeah. So there was a lot of, and Richard Hart also was really deep in the Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin fork side. And I think he chose kind of the losing side on that. And so there were a lot of people on the other side who were kind of out to get him a little bit. And that created a lot of marketing, shining Hex and the thing that he was making in a negative light. Because he's essentially doing what a lot of other people try to do, is make a better Bitcoin in a lot of ways. The original name was Bitcoin Hex.
Yeah. Interesting.
That makes sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I imagine there's like controversy around Richard Hart and stuff like that too, which I don't know a ton about him, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'll have to look into a little bit. It's at least kind of interesting to see, basically different experiments. There's a lot of different experiments people are doing on crypto. Yeah. Different economics and different tokenomics of ways to do things. And I think experiments are good because it's like that's how we learn. Like we learn, okay, this did go well, this didn't go that well. And so if Hex is an experiment that some people don't like, or it's like, well, at least it's like, hopefully we all learn something from it. If it doesn't go somewhere, and if it does go somewhere, then that's good for all of you guys that are in it. So that's interesting. Thanks for explaining that.
Of course, man. And I do definitely see it as an experiment, and like my desire to go pretty heavily into it is like comes from like the thesis that I was saying before. It's like I think I see something where everybody else has like kind of shunned it in a lot of ways and dismissed it, which inherently means there are more people not in it than in it in a lot of ways. Plus the community is actually incredibly strong. Like we have like over almost 150 streamers still active like in the bear market. Streaming and producing videos, which is really, really cool. But it's an opportunity to gain a sizable position in a new and budding ecosystem that is an experiment nonetheless. But if this experiment works and garners that network effect, then like I'll be in a pretty powerful position in the future to do a lot of the cool LPing stuff.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I explained things super well, but if you ever have questions on it or anything, just let me know. I'm happy to talk about it both privately and publicly again, man.
Okay. Yeah. No, sounds good. So, and then is PulseChain somehow connected to Hex?
Yeah.
How's that work?
Mm-hmm. So PulseChain is a Ethereum fork. It's an L1. And the main reason behind it was because the way that the Hex smart contract calculates how much inflation is paid out to when you end a stake, it relies heavily on S load, which is really highly taxed on the way gas fees are calculated on Ethereum. So end staking Hex on Ethereum was becoming unviable, especially as we're getting into the multi-year mark. Excuse me. And so Richard decided to basically fork it so we can have a L1 that has lower fees to make Hex more viable. And it was a complete system stake fork of Ethereum. So all of the ERC20s got copied over into what are called PRC20s. For me, the real power of PulseChain, the real benefit that it provided was a sandbox for all of us to build on. Obviously building on Ethereum is expensive because it costs a lot to deploy contracts and keep them up and running, and then for even people to use them. So it kind of excludes a large class of retail that can't afford to pay $20 every time, even for LPing. They can't, like if you're LPing on $1,000, sometimes it becomes hard to do a $20 in and out gas swap because that can cut into your profits like 50 like 10 to 40%.
Right.
And so
yeah, you can't be on Ethereum layer 1, then it's not worth it.
yeah, exactly. And like there are L2 solutions and everything, but the fact that Richard and Hex have been so ostracized from crypto as a whole, it really does make sense for him to create his own sandbox for people in the community to build upon, where there isn't as much gatekeeping or as much resistance, where the only people you really have to convince your validity of is the audience and the community that already exists, rather than relying on other project founders or VCs or just people generally who aren't receptive to the community. And we're seeing that a lot in PulseChain now. A lot of people have been building. There are like 4 or 5 dexes already, a balancer fork, a lot of V2 forks. We're having some money market forks. So GMX is being forked over to PulseChain through this app called Famous. And then the same people have done an Aave fork as well over on PulseChain. So we have Aave, we're going to have GMX, we have dexes. We're going to have Liquidity. Liquidity?
I don't know.
Yeah. So that's a way to collateralize your Ethereum, and it mints a stable coin based on like how much Ethereum you put in. It's an over collateralized stable coin backed by Ethereum. They're forking that over to PulseChain to have PulseChain be that backed asset.
Okay.
And then so that's a cool DeFi tool that helps you unlock liquidity while maintaining exposure to the base asset of the ecosystem. And there are also another fork of that for the DEX token PulseX as well that's coming out. And I know the guy who's creating Hedron, the guy who created Hedron, he's also has teased forking Rocket Pool for PulseChain as well. And that's just a pooled staking mechanism where other people can deposit.
I'm a Rocket Pool node operator, so.
Oh, hey, there you go. You know all about it. I don't have to explain it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's been fun being a part of that.
Yeah, man. So it's kind of another iteration of recreating. It's another iteration of like crypto recreating financial instruments, but in a decentralized manner. And now it's like the Hex community recreating crypto products, crypto innovations, but for our community, because we haven't really been able to participate in those other protocols because we've been gatekept, because people just haven't really accepted us as a valid crypto, the use case. That's one thing that has me really excited about it. It's brand new and it's all grassroots. Like Richard doesn't fund anything there. It's all most of the funding that's come to the protocols has come because of money they've raised through the community. So like no VCs are funding any of these projects as far as I'm aware. It's all been community run, and it's all people building without any kind of promise of return or without any kind of large financial backing up front to build it. So just more grassroots place for people to participate in crypto.
That's cool. Interesting. So did they already launch PulseChain, and now just like a lot of these protocols are kind of coming over and still being built? So it's kind of just very early. When did they launch it?
Yeah, so it came out about 100 days ago, 4 months ago, but it's been in production for about 2 years. There's a funny meme in the Hex community where before Hex came out, for about 1.5 years, Richard said 4 more weeks till Hex came out. So that became kind of a meme. And then for PulseChain, it became 2 months. So 2 months turned into 2 years. But we finally have it. Unfortunately, the prices isn't doing too great. We've seen a lot of extraction of value from large players, and a lot of that has to do with like the 2-year waiting period and the large bear market we're in as a whole. But yeah, it's been out for about 3 months, and I think some of the protocols that are about to launch, they're kind of waiting for Fetch Oracle to come online, which is I can't remember which Oracle they're forking for that, but an Oracle that a lot of them plan to use.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So you've been doing a lot of content, but mostly kind of in the Hex community. Like, how often do you live stream like this?
Yeah, I try to do at least a live stream like once a week. Generally, I'm really lining up a lot of guests right now. So I have you obviously on right now, and then on Sunday I have a back-to-back stream with 2 of the people in the Hex community. Identity Block, he's a big OG in the community, and Crispy Man from Hexfire.io, who's created a big data site for a lot of the Hex metrics. That's really cool. If you're interested in learning about it, hexfire.io is a great tool. But I'm doing a lot more interviews because I just have fun talking to people. I think conversations are really fun and really enlightening for both me and the audience. And then I try to do I do a lot of like lecture style PowerPoint stuff where I'll drum up a whole PowerPoint and it'll be like a 30 to 1 hour presentation on some kind of concept. A lot of it was around Hedron and Icosa before. Then I had a nice liquidity spell, and now I think I'm gonna start diving more into liquidity stuff, more into risk management and like portfolio allocation. And then also I think I need to kind of revisit the value proposition of Hex just because I feel like I need to flesh out my explanation of it more and just kind of refresh my memory on all of that. But yeah, like
Nice.
once a week streams. Gonna try to do more standalone content, 5 to 10 minute videos. Just try to hit the algorithm that way. And then the conversations like this are really good to cut up into YouTube Shorts as well.
Nice, awesome. Well, it looks like you got a lot of work cut out for you with all that too.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's
Yeah, I
fun.
appreciate that, man. It's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. I feel very fortunate that I've gotten the audience that I have, and that people are willing to, listen to what I have to say. But yeah, no, it's great. It's awesome. I really enjoy making content. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Where did you get the sloth? Where did the sloth come from?
Yeah, it's just my favorite animal, man. I spent about 4 seconds thinking up of the name of the channel. And
4
like
seconds.
Cryptosloth. Yeah, 4 seconds. Like, what's my name should be? Cryptosloth. Done. Moving on. I didn't want to think too much time.
Got more
Spend too much
important
time
things
on
to
it.
think about.
Exactly, right. I think it's worked out well. I like the branding of it a lot. I had one of my friends in the community make this little avatar for me. I think it's really fitting. Yeah, you got the sloth hat and everything. So I'm happy with where it landed. But it was literally just well, I didn't decide to do like a Hex or PulseChain sloth because I wanted to keep my branding open to things outside of the community, even though that's kind of where I've landed mostly. But yeah, just my favorite animal, and just threw crypto in front of it.
Yep, nice.
Yeah, man. I want to take just a quick 1 minute break, and then we'll come back. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. All right, and we're back. Sorry about that. Silver sent me a message because he wanted to ask a question, and I just wanted to hear it really quickly. But this is actually could be a good question, and maybe a potential feature of Uniswap.pool or Uniswap.pool. Jeez, poolfish.xyz or Uniswap.fish. I'm getting mixed up with the names, man.
Yeah, I'm adding more confusion with all these different fishes and pools and.
But he was wondering, like, what do you think of the idea of like a pooled liquidity position? Because you've been looking into like the automated liquidity, the protocols that are automating liquidity positions, and so that does offer an opportunity to pool funds to make a single position, especially for smaller players because they don't have, it doesn't make as much sense for them to LP because of the gas fees, like we were just talking about.
So that is interesting. I haven't thought about that. It's almost so. I guess who would be making the decisions in that case? Like, would it be like voted on by the LPs? I guess something like that. That could be.
That's a couple ways. It could be preset. So I assume if these like protocols have like a way to create the contract and then it's immutable after that. You could set the parameters up front and say like, hey, this is what it does. This is why we're doing it this way. And then if you want to contribute to it, you can. So like it's like upfront rules. Or like a DAO is the next most obvious position where people just vote on what happens. Yeah. That seems a little more messy.
Yeah, because the only problem I can see with that is like, with V3, it's kind of passive, but it's also kind of not passive. Like you kind of have to be like someone's got to be making decisions on like what's your range when you get in and out of it. And so that can maybe be hard to completely automate that away. But yeah, I mean, there's other protocols and projects kind of built around LPing that's like trying to kind of, make that a lot easier and stuff, where then you're just kind of putting your money into that pool. I'm kind of forgetting, a couple of the names of some of those. But yeah, there are some protocols that do that kind of stuff. I think that would be interesting for sure. I think what would be then tricky is like, then I think that would be getting kind of into a scope of a project that I would definitely need help on. Like I would need, I'd need like a team. I would, potentially need some kind of funding of some sort. I guess unless you kind of have like a community grown token and, you're kind of funded by the community. And up to this point, I've kind of been a little bit like scared or just like not really wanting, like hesitant of like doing some kind of token driven project, just because I don't know. I think that just makes there's a lot of like extra challenges and stuff that I think comes into like having a tokenomics and all those kind of things. It's definitely not. It doesn't feel as much like a bootstrap kind of indie kind of business or project. But yeah, I mean, maybe there could be something there that I could look into. I guess the other part with like pretty much when you touch smart contracts at all, like then all of a sudden the cost of building it just goes way up because then you need audits, there's just, you're handling people's funds and just the security around that. So like it's a lot bigger kind of scope and project once you get into something like that. Not to say that I won't, like maybe someday I would want to do, like, maybe that could be like the next, in a couple of years or something, like maybe I get to that point. But yeah, that's definitely an interesting idea. I think, there's definitely a need for something like that in the space. Like you said, like just helping the small players kind of be able to work together, and gas fees and things like that. It definitely makes more sense LPing, the more money you're LPing, I think, it's more worth your time and stuff. So yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I'm glad we could talk about it. Trying to think where we were all set. Yeah. So we talked about, all the Hex stuff, PulseChain stuff. Would you be willing to support a V3 DEX on PulseChain if and when it actually comes out? Just generally,
maybe I would. Yeah, I would have to think about it a little bit, and I would definitely want to do a little bit more like research and understanding, I guess, like the Hex community and kind of the needs there. I mean, it's all EVM, right? So like it would all kind of
it's all the same
way. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know the Hex community, was really using Uniswap.fish a lot back when most of its liquidity was on V3 on Uniswap. Yeah, so I know a lot of our community is already familiar with the site. Really liked it. I used it a lot, both for my personally educational purposes on my streams and everything. So I know at least the community would really appreciate any kind of support that made sense with your vision of Uniswap.fish.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. It's good to know that community would be behind it, and excited for that. So yeah, I'll have to think about it.
Awesome, man. Did you have any other questions for me? I know we're hitting the hour mark.
I think you hit most of them. I mean, like, I guess, like, when you look at the future of the things that you want to do, like, do you like really see yourself like crypto being like your main like source of income and kind of where you want to spend your time, and almost even like as a career, like in crypto?
Yeah, dude, that's a great question and something I've been thinking a lot of lately. Like, as you know, in my kind of intro spiel to the group, I'm a dental student, and I'm in my last year of dental school right now. So I'm about to start a whole career in that field, working, and yet I also have this little side business on my YouTube channel and everything. And I created a website, cryptosloth.info, where I am trying to build like a little like personal private community, pretty basic business model there, consults, private telegrams, etc., for like educational purposes. Also, then you throw into like the price appreciation potential of crypto and the passive income that could come, or the income that can come from that through like LPing and stuff. And it's definitely a dilemma that I'm in right now. It's like, because, and I'm sure you know this very well, where it's like, if you're split your attention between two things, you're always going to get beat by the guy who's doing just that one thing, right? So you can never really reach your potential in anything if you're splitting it between multiple things. And so right now, I could see myself doing crypto full time, especially if the income from it starts to really outcompete the income I'm making from dentistry. And it justifies me foregoing any opportunities in dentistry, whether it be opening up my own practice, doing a specialty, etc.
Yeah.
So if I saw, and I'm actually in a good position right now because the job that I'm going to have after I graduate is going to be pretty compatible with running a business on the side for a lot of different reasons. And so I have about 2 years right now where I can build my brand as large as I can, try to garner as much support through YouTube and Twitter and whatnot. Just to see where it goes. I think 2 years is a solid amount of time to see it. Can I produce a reliable, and I think that's the key word, a reliable income from the stuff, and then make the decision of whether I'm going to take more time where I just focus on it, or I forego it, keep it as like a fun hobby that I do on the side, and then go all in on like dentistry. So I'm still kind of at a crossroads right here, but both of them are open and possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, it's cool you have dentistry, and obviously you probably put a lot of time and money into that already with going to college and college for it and all that. And so it probably would be hard to just like walk away from it completely, I would imagine. But well, I do think that starting like on something on the side, I think that's probably like the best way for the majority of people to like start in something. Like that's how I got started into doing my own businesses and stuff. Like the first, like my last business, Potion, the first year of it, it was part-time while I had like a full-time job as well. And so like, just having the stability of having like an income and finances kind of taken care of with that, like it just, it just makes a lot of sense to have that. And then, you're saying like, well, if you're not spending all your time towards, your own thing or whatever, like, someone else is going to beat you there to it or whatever. I mean, I think especially in crypto, like if crypto, does well, like there's enough, the pie is big enough for all of us to like, for you to do well, even if you're not spending all of your time in it, I think. And so, just making the progress and being consistent, I think is what you need. And so if you can do that part-time, like I think you could make that work.
Yeah. And I think the having the dentistry thing pretty much locked in at this point is really makes the pursuit of the side thing risk-free. Like one of the scariest things about entrepreneurship in general is just the uncertainty of like, if this doesn't work out, I'm left with nothing. Right. But for me, like my base level that I fall to is like a pretty solid career. Like you can make a very comfortable living doing dentistry. Well, not just comfortable, like you can be very successful financially as a dentist. And so that takes a lot of the pressure off like needing to perform, or like if this doesn't work, then I have to like start from zero, which I think is kind of like the place I'm starting from is a position of leverage basically, which is really, really nice.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's a good position to be.
Yeah, man. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm definitely open to committing as much or as little time as it takes to, get a output that makes me satisfied. I think that's really the biggest thing. It's like getting to those different milestones of income or channel growth, social media growth, and then at each level just reevaluate. It's like, okay, do I want to do the thing that I need to do to get to the next level, or am I happy at where I'm at and just kind of be consistent at that level,
Yeah. I think with every bull run in crypto, I think there'll be like a new like group of like YouTubers and social media people that like kind of blow up with that. Like I think that's what we saw like in the last bull run as well, where like there's people that kind of is how they started their career in creating content and stuff, and a lot of them are still able to do it and doing it now. And so maybe all you need is another bull run, and then you'll be good.
Dude, my wallet needs another bull run. I don't know where my portfolio needs the bull run. But yeah, it's an interesting place to be in. There's something else I wanted to say with that, but you definitely have a good point where it's like I also share the same vision where I think crypto can gain to grow a lot larger than it is now, be a lot more adopted in the mainstream versus where it is now. And that's going to just create a market that's so big that there's going to be like basically an infinite number of places to niche into and build businesses on, and contribute to crypto as a whole. And that part really excites me, because if I'm as ahead as I think I am, then like the earning potential of it, and like the experiences that being a successful influencer in crypto as it goes up is like so different than what I ever expected for my life, that it seems like I have to give this opportunity a chance just in case. Because it would be just so much fun, honestly, in a lot of ways, to kind of publicly build in crypto as it's becoming a more worldwidely accepted means of transaction.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So is most of your like extra money like in crypto then? Like you're like anything extra?
All of my extra
you have?
Yeah, all of I worked for 3 years before I started dental school, and all that money has gone into crypto. And then all of the money that I've actually earned through the business that I built has gone into crypto as well. It's just a full funnel into, and just no, all gas, no brakes, baby.
Yeah, I mean, once you kind of see the vision, like you see it, and you're like, you get that bullishness on it. You're just like, I don't see this not working out eventually. Like obviously, like it could take some time, but yeah, it seems like a good thing to invest. Well, especially like when you're in a bear, when you're in a bear market. Like this has actually been the first like full cycle that I'll have gone through. Like I haven't really been that engaged in crypto in a bear market. Like I kind of joined crypto just in the start of the bull market, starting last time. So this is my first kind of time going through a full bear market, which has been really interesting. But it's like, okay, if it's a bear market, and like, it seems like a good time to kind of get in it and get involved before more people come. So like it's hard to not be bullish on it, and excited about it when there's like a lot of growth, a lot of potential. It's been crazy in crypto the last year, really, like just seeing all the innovation and building that's been going on. Like there's a lot of new things coming out and making crypto like even better and stuff. And it's like because it's a bear market, the price doesn't really reflect that at all, like or people don't seem to really care or whatever. So it just seems like there's a lot of pent up kind of innovation and stuff that's eventually going to take off and go somewhere. So it's going to be fun to kind of to enjoy the ride, I guess, see what happens in the next couple of years.
Well, yeah. What about you, man? Like, are you looking to kind of turn your entrepreneurship and like indie hacker skills and everything over onto the Web3 space a little bit more, or split your time between Web2 and Web3?
That's what I've done.
That's what you've done. Or like, I guess, are you looking to commit mostly to it going forward in the future? I guess that's
that's the plan.
That's what you're doing.
So I bought Uniswap.fish for $37K. So I feel like that was a good price, like a good deal. So that's like the biggest single investment I've made into, I guess, one thing before, or other than, I guess, starting to build, into Ethereum. I'm big into Ethereum, but so I mean, I'm kind of going all in on crypto for sure. Like, with my time, with my businesses, with my with my finances. So yeah, I mean, I could see myself being involved in crypto maybe for the rest of my career potentially. And so we'll see where it goes and where it takes me. But I really enjoy it. And something I've learned about myself just in the last 5-6 years with even entrepreneurial stuff is I really like I think one of the funnest things in life is learning, and just like learning how things work, learning how systems work. And so what I like so much about crypto is it really moves fast. Like there's just new things coming out all the time, and people can build on top of each other so easily, because like the forking and interoperability that you can have in crypto, it just makes for this like innovation that just like just goes so fast. And so it's kind of what I really enjoy about it, is like it's something fun to follow along and kind of see what's going on and see the innovation and stuff. And so that's why I really like crypto, I guess, because there's just so much happening. Because before, like I've kind of jump around a lot from like what I'm really into. Like I'd jump from one kind of tech scene to another, or one kind of business to another, because you know, it was just like I got bored of things just kind of being the same all the time, and I wanted like change and new things. And so I think crypto really works out well for me with that, in that it's, you know, it just moves so fast, and so I really could see, you know, doing this kind of stuff for a long time, just because there's so much happening, there's so much innovation, and things are changing so quickly. So yeah, it makes it fun for me.
Yeah, it's an exciting place to be in, dude. I get you on how it can consume your whole life. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, when that light switch in your head flips, like that, like crypto's a go. It just like it's all consuming in your life.
Yeah,
It's a lot of fun.
especially, yeah, I mean, especially, I can't even imagine what like the next like bull run is going to feel like, because it was
Mhm.
just absurd and crazy this last bull run, with just like
Yeah.
the amount of like news and things and projects and stuff that would just blow up in like a couple days, and then you're just like, wow, I feel like I'm missing all this stuff that's happening, and you can't stay on
Mhm.
top of it. It's, I mean, it's been fun, and like I've enjoyed like the bear market as well, just because it's like in some ways it's kind of more relaxed and laid back, and there's just like building happening. There's still a lot of things happening, but it's more, I guess, focused on the building side of things instead of just
Mhm.
prices of things and stuff like that. And so I don't know, it will be kind of crazy once the bull run kind of comes back, and just like prices go crazy and jumping on things. Like it can take a ton of your mental space during that time, because there's just so much happening and you can't track it all. It'll
Mhm.
be fun, but yeah, it would just be interesting to see how that goes
Yeah.
this next time.
Yeah, definitely. And the time to be building is in the bear market, right? Like, if you're building in the bull market, it's kind of a lot of the ways too late, because that's when all the people are coming in. So I think you're in at the perfect time to start building things and garnering an audience and all of that stuff. So I'm excited to follow
Yeah.
your work and everything, man.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely how I'm thinking about it. Like, I do feel like it's a good time to like build out the website, make it better, and you know, really like have like a good tool that's ready for a ton more people coming in. And I think that's actually the same for like if you're wanting to like do liquidity pool providing. Like right now, if you're just kind of like learning how to do it well, there's going to be a ton more volume coming to liquidity pool providers once like the bull market comes back. So like that's kind of my strategy
Yeah.
with that too, is like just trying to learn as much as I can of like how can I do it well right now, so that I can basically take advantage of the bull
Yep.
run when it comes with doing liquidity pool providing. So I think it's a great time to like learn, to grow, to build things. And so that's kind of my strategy with the website and liquidity pool providing. So yeah, it's a good before phase, I guess.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's gonna LPing when prices are high, especially when your cost basis is so much lower, and like you can start yielding like your initial principal over like a set period of time. It's gonna be a ton of fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
but yeah, man. All right. Well, we've gone for about an hour and a half. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Noah, first, congratulations on acquiring the website. I'm really excited to watch all the work you're going to be doing on it. My channel is open
Yeah.
to you. If you want to ever, have an announcement, have another conversation, I would love to have you on again at some point, man. And
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to seeing everything that you do.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. This was fun. Good conversation. And it's been fun seeing the chat kind of roll by as people are saying random stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It sometimes can be hard to keep track of the chat and the conversation at the same time. But yeah, feel free to stick around in the green room for a couple minutes to chat. But other than that, everybody in the chat, everyone who came live, thank you so much for watching. As always, I appreciate your viewership. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Peace out.